Good morning, Trinity United Methodist Church. For those that don't know me, my name is Joy Phillips, and I'm a missionary with World Gospel Mission, serving in South Sudan currently. But I live here in Nairobi, Kenya, where it's easier for me to do my job because of the better infrastructure. This past week has been a bit of a stressful week as Kenyans have gone to the polls and have voted for a new president, and just this morning the results were announced, but we had a whole week of waiting for the votes to be tallied and announced. So we're praying that things will remain calm and that life can move forward from now. Anyway, Pastor Paul asked me to check in with you all during your missions month and just share a little bit about what's going on with me. WGM's involvement in South Sudan is in 3 different areas. One is we're trying to strengthen the church, empower pastors through training in biblical storytelling. We're trying to come alongside medical ministries and empower South Sudanese healthcare providers, as well as just strengthen the healthcare institutions. And then we're also trying to just transform community, we're trying to transform communities through the training of people in a program called Community Health Evangelism. And that's one of many tools that can be used for community transformation. But we're really excited about what God's doing in each of these areas. These days are busy days, a bit hectic, but when I get reports from the field about what's actually going on, it's really encouraging. Just this past week, we had a team of trainers in the town of Tonj, where there's a medical ministry as well as some pastoral training going on. And they had 30 pastors come in, and some of these pastors are from brand new churches that were planted kind of through the medical ministry. We have many people coming to that clinic who have never heard about Jesus. And as they come, the staff share about Jesus, they pray with them, and we get believers going back to villages that have no church, no evangelical witness. And so some of these men are coming from these types of villages. You can hear honking in the background, and that is people that are happy with the president who has been voted in. Anyway, so these 30 men just finished yesterday training, and we're very excited that they're going to get to go back to their villages with this new tool about how to share the Bible in a culture that very few people know how to read. And so it's telling passages of Scripture and then dissecting it to get the biblical truths and then applying them to our lives. So that's exciting. Next week, then, some of those same people will still be in Tonj, and they're going to do the 4th week of training in community health evangelism. And that's really exciting. I just got a report from one of our volunteers, and she had been visiting all of our volunteer trainees this past month, and she was telling me, this person's building a latrine, and this person's, home is so much neater than it used to be, and people are, sharing with their neighbors and taking their neighbors to church, and some people are giving their lives to the Lord, and it's just really exciting as we see real transformation beginning to take place. One of the things they're going to teach about during that next week's lesson times is farming God's way, and it's a different technique of farming that uses biblical principles, and the yield is higher than with traditional farming principles. So they've planted 2 gardens, one with farming God's way principles and one the old way, and they're going to show the Che participants, and hopefully people will learn something that they can take home, and they can use this new technique and get more food for their families. And then lastly, we're doing medical clinics and sending volunteer medical staff into several different institutions. This year we've held a surgical clinic, and we've got several cataract clinics coming up and several more surgical clinics. We're going to be sending some other health personnel to help fill needs. There's very little health care, and so this is a big help in a country that is so, so needy. And so that's kind of what we're doing. Pastor Paul asked me to share a project that needed some funding, and as I thought about that, I thought about my colleague at Hanum. And at Hanum is from the very small and little-known country of Eritrea, which is in the Horn of Africa. And he is a godly man, and he's actually living in exile. He's been imprisoned twice in his home country for preaching, and so he can't be there. But God has laid a deep burden on his heart for the South Sudanese, and so he is working with Che, he's working with biblical storytelling, and he's just doing a fantastic job of facilitating God's moving in people's lives. And you know, his salary, his travel expenses would be the project that I would propose to you today. Tim knows him. He's at Hanum is just a lovely, lovely believer who is making a real difference for God's kingdom in South Sudan. So thank you for the prayer support I get from you all. Thank you for the financial support. All of that allows me to be here, and we are seeing God's kingdom come to South Sudan as we are being faithful to what he has called us to do. So thank you for being part of what God's doing and for your encouragement to me in this work.